So for a while now, we've been working our way through a series on the Marine Corps' leadership traits and leadership principles. These are things that I have learned in the Marine Corps, things that I'm trying to share with you guys as they relate to World of Warcraft in a leadership position, whether you're a new guild leader, new raid leader, or you've been doing this for several years. Now, just as a reminder, traits are characteristics that all leaders should be striving to exhibit, maintain, show off, perfect. These are things that you should be working on every single day. Things like integrity, things like perseverance and endurance and, just dedication and all these things. However, your principles are things that you need to be doing. These are actual things that you need to make sure that you are doing every single day. With that being said, though, today we are going to look at easily, by far, the most important of all the leadership principles: setting the example. Now, the first thing that you need to realize in a leadership position, and like I said, it doesn't matter if you're a brand new raid leader that started last week or you've been leading a guild, for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, it doesn't matter. What you need to realize is that your guild members, those souls that you are in charge of, that you have taken charge of, that you lead, they're watching you. And it doesn't matter if they're the brand new guy that heeds every single word that you say, that's, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, that is super excited. The cynical folks that, maybe are looking to call out when you make a mistake. Those guys that have been around forever that know that they're in good hands or have learned to work with your misgivings and your shortcomings. Or maybe, they just trust everything that you say. Whatever the case might be, whatever the guild members that you have that are working with you, you need to realize that you are being watched. Sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. We've also talked about setting expectations. What do you expect and want your raiders to do? How do you expect for them to perform? What raid requirements are out there for your guild, for your raid group? Are there attendance requirements? Are there weapon requirements, item level requirements, stuff like that? Now, the reason why I mention these things is because I want these things to be in the back of your mind, because I want you to realize that when you're asking your raiders to do something, when you are acting a certain way, those guild members are watching what you do. So when you say, hey, guys, show up for 70% of the raid, or I'm going to sit you, but you only show up every once in a while, and it's not for a good reason, family members in the hospital, something, emergency at work happened. Those are legit excuses. Those are things that you do need to take time out for. But I didn't feel like raiding tonight. Not really a good example. So how can you tell your raiders to do something, really anything, if you can't or are unwilling to do it yourself? And it simply comes down to that. How can you tell your people to do something? How can you tell your raiders that you expect X, Y, and Z if you are not at X, Y, and Z or are not working your ass off to get there? If you're sitting there telling your raiders to do something and you can't, you won't do it, very quickly your raiders are going to get pissed off. It would be very unfair for me to tell my raiders, I expect your gear level to be at this, item level, your weapon to be at this level, whatever, but I'm not logging in and doing world quests to get that way myself. I'm not, farming Mythic Plus. I'm not showing up to the raid, etc. That would be unfair to these guys who have busted their ass to get to that position, who have maybe switched to alts because they didn't like their main or they wanted to try something else, and they've busted their ass to get there. And I just log in and I'm the one that gets the rate too, even though I'm far behind everyone else. That wouldn't be fair. It wouldn't be fair to, take people who excel at certain things and give them additional responsibilities. We know that this guy is an amazing DPSer, but we'll put him in the pods for high council or high command because I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. That's not fair. Why can't I do it this week? Why can't I do it next week? Why can't we rotate? Whatever the case might be. You cannot and should not be asking your people to do something if you are unable or unwilling to do it yourself. It's not fair to them. It's not fair to you. And all around, it's going to lower the morale so quickly. And you'll get raiders that are so pissed off at you because they're going to ask, why is he not doing it? Why is it fair that he gets to raid, that he gets loot, that he gets gear? Just because he's the guild leader, just because he's an officer, people are going to get pissed off, guys. So you cannot ask them to do something if you're not willing or able to do it yourself. People are going to start asking for your qualifications. They're going to go, he's a great guild leader. He's super nice. He knows what he's doing, but he's a detriment to the raid because he can't do this, or he's unwilling to do that, or, he doesn't show up but half the time, or his gear is significantly lower than everyone else's, and he's taken all of our gear, or, his artifact weapon isn't where it needs to be, and ours is, whatever the case might be. If you aren't pulling your fair share of the work, regardless of how good you are as a guild leader, you're a detriment, and your raid's going to suffer, your raiders are going to suffer, your guild's going to suffer, and in the end, it's not going to work out very well. It's a very simple concept. I know you guys understand it because I'm sure that in your lifetime, if you've raided even just a little bit, if you've been out in the real world for just a little bit, you've seen both ends of the spectrum. You've seen, raid leaders and guild leaders and bosses at work who are the prime example of what to do. They're busting their hump. They're pulling the weight right beside the rest of the employees, the rest of the raiders. And you've seen guys who, get off of work early and they leave early and they show up late. They don't do any work. And they're not doing anything extra in the raid, and they show up late to the raid or they leave early. Whatever the case might be. And which one, honestly, are you going to want to side with? The guys that are pulling their weight or those that aren't? And it simply comes down to that. You are setting the example of what is right and not right within your group, your guild, your raid, whatever the case might be. With that being said, guys, hopefully you like what I'm saying here. If you do, you guys know what to do. If you don't like what I'm saying here, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. And until next time, I'll see you.